Hey, hello, how you guys doing? I was asked to do a video. This will actually be a series of videos. I just found out that you can't send a 13-minute video through iMessage. So this will come to you in 3 installments probably, but who doesn't like a good trilogy? I guess I could have just asked somebody how to send it differently, but I'll just do 3 short ones and send it. But I was asked to tell a little bit about me and Ruth's story, and so I will do that over the next few minutes, and I'll tell my side of it. I'm sure Ruth probably shares some of her side, and I know some of you guys pretty much know the majority of this, but I will share with you guys. So me and Ruth's journey started about 4 years ago. 4.5 years ago. And I remember it was the first time I'd ever met Ruth. I was actually praying on the prayer line, and I remember she came up and I thought she was a visitor from out of town because I had never seen her before. And it was me and another female student praying for people together. And so I thought she was her friend because it seemed like they knew each other. I think the friend asked if I would pray for her friend. And so I thought they were old friends from back home. And I remember she asked me to pray for Ruth. And I was listening to Ruth tell what she needed prayer for and everything, and I was just listening to them talk back and forth. And I remember in my heart, I said, man, it would be nice if I could find a girl like her. And it's the first time that thought has ever came to me on the prayer time, and it's the last time that a thought like that has ever came to me while I was praying on the prayer line. But here we are, 4.5 years later, and the Lord answered a prayer that no one else heard. So I said that in my heart, and then she left, and like I said, I just thought she was out of town visitor. And so I remember about a year later, I noticed her at Jesus School. I noticed her at school, and I was like, oh wow, she's actually here now. She's a student. And I remember, about a month or 2 went by with me just seeing her around the community, and I thought, I think I'm gonna ask her out. Like, I had built up enough courage. I was gonna ask her out, and then she went in a different direction at that time, and so that kind of shut that door for a little bit. And so a season went by in that other direction. And then it became again where I felt that I had the opportunity to ask her out. But then once again, she went in a different direction. And so I just put it on the shelf, and I was like, I guess that will never happen. And I think I'm going to stop now and go to another video. See you guys in a second. And I'm back. And so I think 2 years went by after that, 2 or 3 years went by after that until this most recent year. And now I'll tell a little bit of her side of the story that I didn't find out until, of course, after we started dating. But she began to develop feelings for me, and she, in her words, liked me so much that she avoided me so that I wouldn't know that she liked me. And so, but the thing is, she avoided me so much that I actually thought she hated me. Like, I actually thought she had something against me. So I actually would just stay away from her. I was like, I don't know what I did to her, but she seems pretty upset with me. So I think I'm just gonna avoid her altogether, or just not, push it and just stay away. And so that's what I did. And I remember, so this went on for a few months. And because of her past situation, it was, in my mind, in my heart, it was never a possibility. I was never gonna pursue Ruth unless the Lord started speaking about her. And so I went to Houston for Jesus Nights. Or actually, no, this was the Send. This was Kansas City. And I remember I came back from Kansas City, and I remember I was praying right when I got back. And I prayed. I was like, Lord, I asked the Lord, I said, Lord, I desire a wife. I believe it's time for me to have a wife. But then I told him, you know, I don't trust myself to make the right decision, but I trust you. And so I relinquish all, you know, control. And whoever you decide, I told the Lord, you know, whoever you decide, I promise to receive this person as a gift from you, and that I will treasure as someone who is precious and love them unconditionally and never waver on his decision. And so that was my prayer. And I waited on him for a while, but I didn't hear anything in the moment. And I remember I went to bed that night, and as I was sleeping about 3:12 or at 3:12 a.m., I was woken up by the audible voice of God, and he said, Ruth. And like I shot up in my bed, and it freaked me out. Like I thought somebody had gotten into my room, because the voice came from my right, the right of my bed, over where my prayer chair, actually this chair that I'm sitting in right now, it came from the direction of the chair. And I was so freaked out that I almost fell out of bed. And because I was thinking 1,000 thoughts. I was like, how did they get in my room? Like, I thought I locked the door. And then the gravity of what he spoke hit me. And I knew exactly what he was saying, that he had chosen Ruth to be my wife. And so I just sat there. And then I eventually turned the light on, and it was 3:33 a.m. when I turned the light on, and he had been waking me up at 3:33 for months leading up to that night. And so I'll stop right there, and then I'll go to the last recording, hopefully. See you guys in a second. All right. So he spoke her voice, and I remember a week went by, and I didn't tell a soul that he had spoke to me audibly, just because it's very precious to me. And he has only spoken to me twice audibly, and the first time was when he said my name when I first got saved, and then the second time he said her name. But a week went by, and I was about to go to sleep one night a week later, and the Lord brought her back up, because I hadn't done anything. I hadn't made any moves on what he had spoke. And I prayed, Lord, I know that you spoke to me. I know that it was you. I have no doubt about that. But Lord, I need confirmation. I can't go off of just one manifestation. I have to know that this is you, just because this is a very important decision. And I promise if you confirm it, I won't waver, and I'll go forward with it. And so that night I went to bed, and at 11:10 p.m. I heard knocking, doosh, 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 and I shot up in my bed. And I thought, I thought my roommate had locked himself outside. And so I go downstairs and check the door, or I open the front door, and no one's there. There's no cars there. There's not a person there. And so I'm walking back up to my room, and the parable of the friend coming at midnight came to my mind. And of course, Ruth in Hebrew means friend. And I knew he was just confirming her. And then I got to my room. Sometimes when he wakes, or a lot of times when he's been waking me up, at times he's been speaking of out of the book of Luke. So I went to Luke 10:11 or 11:10, one of those two. I think it's 11:10. And it talks about, he who asks shall receive, he who knocks, it shall be open to him. And so That's why I heard the knocking, of course. But so I go that day. I wake up that morning, that next morning, and I text her that morning and asked her out, and she said yes. 45 daunting minutes later, she said yes as she returned my text. And so we went out that day, and then a few days go by. That Sunday, that was a Thursday, and then that was a Friday, because I heard the knocking on a Thursday. It was Friday, and now it's Sunday, and I'm at church on Sunday, and Jess is speaking about the power of agreement. And in the middle of worship, me and Ruth never sat by each other in service. But in the middle of worship, Ivana moved us right next to each other in the center. And so we were sitting next to each other while Jess was speaking. And in the middle of Jess's sermon, she knocks on the pulpit. And she's like, he who knocks, or he who asks, or he who knocks, it shall be open to him. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, this is pretty confirming. And then that same night, I went to church, and Amy Gray runs up to me, and she's like, hey, I had a dream about you. And I was like, okay, what is it? And she was like, you were dating somebody in that dream. And so in my heart, I'm like, she better say Ruth. And of course she's like, and I said, who? And she was like, Ruth. And I was like, oh, and so that was pretty much it for me as far as confirmation. Like, I'd heard the Lord has spoke, then he confirmed it, and then it was confirmed through, while Jess was speaking, and then confirmed through a friend, having a dream that night. So I was pretty settled on it. Next video, hold on. All right, so I was pretty settled on it, but I didn't tell Ruth any of this, like, as far as the confirmations, as far as hearing the voice of the Lord audibly, because I didn't want to manipulate anything. She needed to hear from the Lord for herself, and so I waited and didn't tell her any of these things. I just told her, I felt led by the Lord in the relationship. And so eventually, after dating for a while, she heard from the Lord through scripture, through prayer and stuff like that. The Lord had confirmed it to her that we were supposed to be together. So when she had confirmation, and she knew that she knew, and then that's when I told her about all the confirmations that I had. And then here we are. There's so many other funny stories I could tell you. I could tell you about our first kiss. I think I'll let her tell you about our first kiss, and she's there. She can do that. And then also how I sliced my thumb open in our blood covenant engagement that we had. She can tell you that story as well. I have a permanent scar on my thumb from our engagement night where I sliced my thumb open. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for putting on this bridal shower. Thank you so much for your love, your generosity, your kindness towards me and Ruth. We love you guys so much. You mean so much to us. And we just thank you so much. We're so grateful. We're so grateful for every one of you guys. I love you. Ruth loves you. I'm sure she'll let you know. But bye.